May, can you just tell me how the last 2 weeks have been?
Quite busy, looking at all the meetings and all the requests from members of the public. So I try not to say no to any requests. I try to fit them in. And yeah, it's from that perspective it's going next. Where did it start for me politically? Look, I was interested in politics from a young age. Looking at the apartheid era, I was always interested in politics. I grew up with politics, and I was a community activist, young at the time, but also very, very supportive of the UDF and what the UDF stand for, what they have done at the time, and so forth. I support that. And yeah, that is how I was seen and identified as someone that could play a much bigger political role. And that's why I'm here with regard to social issues. That is what we have to address.
When you say social issues, can you just expand on that?
Social issues, poverty is still rife in Cape Town. Unemployment is still rife in Cape Town, despite the fact that our unemployment figure is the lowest of all metros and the lowest of all provinces. But looking at the movement from people into Cape Town, there will always be an outcry for more job opportunities, and that will be a never-ending kind of an issue. But then there's also the housing crisis. We must build quite a number of thousands of houses every financial year, and we need to catch up with regard to that. And because far too many people on our housing waiting list, 350 plus thousand on our integrated housing waiting list. That is not only for the city of Cape Town. Now, if you're talking about the broader Western Cape, you're talking about just over 500,000 on the integrated housing waiting list. Yeah, look, yeah, definitely we talk about the housing issues quite often, because the need, the shoutings and outcry for more houses is hotting up. People want a house tomorrow, and the people is of the opinion government will and shall build for each and every person a house. So each and every person want a house. Look, it depends, a house or a home, whatever you want to call a house, whatever you want in place for now. You know, prior to me entering into this position, I can't just go and reinvent the wheel and make sweeping changes to what is in place. I need to honor what is in place, specifically if those plans was approved by council already and approved by the mayoral committee already. I will have to see it through.
Yeah.
But if it is good issues in place, like housing, housing will always be a contentious issue, but it will always also be an issue giving you pride if you can build a couple of hundreds of houses and you have beneficiaries attached to that, and the beneficiaries occupy the house, to see the joy on the faces, the cries out of people's eyes and tears and that sort of thing, how joyful and they are, and that sort of thing. So one mustn't underestimate that, but the fact of the matter for me is government will have to build more and more houses, although we will never be able to satisfy the needs of everyone immediately. Only over a period of years you can build for many more houses. But what we can do now, we must do. And we must use our fullest budget for that purpose, so that we can show to the public out there we did not waste our budgets, we did not waste the taxpayers' money. If the budget is 1 billion for housing in one financial year, 1 billion must be used for housing. It doesn't matter how municipality leadership changes, the issue stays the same, year in and year out. You know, the shouting from political parties when we're in power, we will turn things upside down and we will produce, and it's also just talk. Fact of the matter is, you have a Municipal Financial Management Act you need to work with. That act confined to you what you must do. Then you have the Structures Act, you have the Systems Act, and you can't operate outside of the framework of any of those acts. So what you want to do is actually limited. You can only do what your budget allows you to do. I did say in my inaugural speech, I will review it. I never said I will throw it out, I will throw it one side. No, that is not going to happen. We are currently busy. I'm talking to my caucus about it. On Monday, that is yesterday, I showcased to the caucus the changes I want to see to ODTP, the changes
What are some of the changes you want to see to ODTP?
Area-based. Look, I think some of the departments is far too big. Looking at, for instance, 2 councillors departments, or 3, Xanthia Lindbergh, J.P. Smith, and Brett Heron. Brett, for instance, he had human settlements in there. He had planning and urban planning there. He had the big transport department there. It's too big for one person to govern.
Or to provide oversight.
Exactly. And then there is J.P. Smith with safety and security.
And social
development and health and amenities and that sort of thing. To which one must he pay more attention to, and that sort of thing. And then Xanthia with informal settlements upgrade, and with water and with energy and utilities, that is not ordinary cleansing and services and so on. And that department, though, Xanthia Lindbergh, is a massive department. I think one of the biggest driven departments and directors with the biggest budgets, for instance. So it is not right for service, actually it's not good for service delivery. So the guys cannot study themselves into that discipline. I want a specialist dealing with housing, and that person must focus on housing so that we can get a proper housing output. And I said to the councillors, proper housing output, looking at the amount of people on our integrated housing waiting list, thousands of houses needs to be built. That is first price. Secondly, looking, for instance, at urban planning issues, and that sort of, it's a discipline on its own. You need to get a mayoral committee member that can focus and study him or herself into his or her respective discipline, so that we can get maximum value out of that mayoral committee member, and so that there is implementation to the teeth.
So you'll see, I mean, from that I can hear you'll say you'll expand the MACO.
Definitely. Yeah, I've done that already. Expand MACO, unbundle some of the bigger departments, and I took health already away from Councillor Smith, and social development and amenities I took from Brett Heron's department. I took away, I unbundle housing, and I take transport away and that sort of thing. Let it stand on its own legs, and I think that is the best to do.
Okay. And just, I mean, now you were just talking about unbundling everything now. What do you make of your predecessor and her announcement on Sunday?
It's a choice. I can't do anything about that. I just said I wish Patricia did.
Did you have any chat before you? I mean,
no, before I had.
Before you came,
No, not at the time. I had 3-4 discussions with Patricia. I had a good handing over between us, and there's no bad blood between us. She will stay a good friend. She will stay a good colleague. And look, to start a new political movement, it's entirely her own choice. The caucus is united. I said to my leadership, that is exactly first prize for me, what I'm going to focus on over a couple of weeks' time. I invite councillors to my office from both sides of the spectrum. I talk to them. I said to them, you toe the party line. You're here on the ticket of the Democratic Alliance. You sign for the Democratic Alliance that you will honor the party and the party's policies, the party's manifesto. Said if you feel you do not want to do that, there's the door. Then you must go gracefully. Some of them did resign.
Yeah.
Some did resign. So the fact is, I tried my best to be honest with the councillors. I didn't just go and make sweeping changes and that sort of thing. I took the councillors along with me. I explained to them why I am going to do what I'm doing, so they know. They know. It's not a case of they heard my decisions or proposed decisions in the passage and on the street and that sort of thing. I had them in my boardroom. And there I talked to them and I said, this is what I'm going to do with you. And with the next councillor, I take whatever away, this is what I'm going to do with you. I think I've dealt with it in the best, most humane kind of a manner possible. Many, many people ending up in some trouble and hot water. They go and grab at each and every straw they can get to smear people's names through the mud. And during this discussion with you and with all my other interviews with other journalists, I never mentioned anything bad of any of my colleagues. I could have done it now. There's many things I can discuss with you. I can tell you many things we uncover and that sort of thing. But that is not in my nature to talk bad about anyone and that sort of thing, and to smear people's names through the mud and imply things and that sort of thing. No. And I'm even not going to do it now. What I say to you is, it is their point of view. I even respect their point of view. I've got a job to do.
Yeah.
You say to you, in many, many instances, it will be very difficult to say no to gentrification. That is first and foremost. But in saying that, we must also honor the wishes and respect the wishes of residents, of people living in specific areas with regard to what it is they want. If they live there for many, many years, it is for the community also to talk to people around them with regard to make people to understand what is it they want and that sort of thing. My big problem is with a boerkaap is if people don't talk to one another, situations might escalate. Yeah. And I think that we need to have a boerkaap discussion. What must the future of the boerkaap be? Sometimes new developments bring in more revenue for that area. Sometimes new buildings is not bad for an area, but that is discussions we must have. Rates relief is in place. Indigent grants is in place for elderly people. Most of the boerkaap, or many of the boerkaap elderly people live under the breadline. They are working class people, and they only receive a state pension, and assistance for that is in place from the city of Cape Town. I think there is rates rebates in place. Yeah. There is indigent grants in place also to deal with electricity, the free electricity system, subsidization of water usage and refuse removal. All of those is in place, and my understanding is that it is also in place